Good afternoon, Market Chameleons. Everyone join us for the first time. Thanks for coming by and watching the afternoon show with Ryan Mastro from OptionsRobot. Before we get started, let's take a look at the shared disclaimer. Let's be aware that neither Market Chameleon, Ryan, or myself are registered investment advisors or a broker-dealer. If you're searching for investment advice, please reach out to a licensed professional. This show, as all our shows, are for informational purposes only concerning Market Chameleon and OptionsRobot tools and products. With that, one last look at the disclaimer, and let's welcome Ryan Mastro to the show. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Great. Very excited for an actual Ryan report during the market hours. So we got an hour before the close, and we have Ryan on. So, anyone who wants to ask a question, ask about OptionsRobot, ask about Market Chameleon, feel free. But with that, we'll start with things that Ryan are seeing during this trading day. I'll bring up your screen, Ryan.
Yeah, sounds good. So let's, I'm going to kind of quickly talk about the market. I'm going to go back versus in the video. Let's just go into the cues here a little bit, and we can see the action here. So we had a big gap down, ugly looking morning. I think a lot of this had to do with tariffs from over the weekend and the report that came out on Wednesday from I think it's the IEEP, whatever that court system is, basically saying that the tariffs were invalid. And basically, it's going to go to the Supreme Court. So, we're sitting here with what's going on now. There's a couple of things that have kind of been under the radar that I think are hitting the tape as well, that maybe a lot of people aren't hearing because it's not hitting the main street. But we're getting a lot of kind of rumors and talk about Japan's bond market, that we're starting to see some of those yields creep up to a point where it's really uncomfortable for people. They're still hanging on to this carry trade. So what is the carry trade? Carry trade is basically institutions, hedge funds that basically have the ability to trade around the world, and they're borrowing in Japan at cheaper rates than they are getting here. And basically what they're using is that money to go buy the market, buy investments, whatever they want to do with it, but they're doing it at a much cheaper rate. Well, what we've seen over the past 2 weeks, this is something I've been talking about a lot in a lot of the services I run, basically is that if this carry trade blows up, we can go back to last August 5th, and we can see we had this big kind of drop where there was a panic about credit. And once there's a panic on credit, that's when the VIX starts to spike. So we're getting a little bit of that in terms of the bigger picture. Volatility is up. VIX popped to something like 1930 something here today. That was up like 3 points from Friday. So that's something that when the market goes down, right, obviously the nervousness comes back into the market, but we're looking okay at the moment, right? So that's what we want to see, is we want to see volume start to come back into the market. We want to see people willing to step in and buy. And obviously there's a lot of buy the dippers, right? The guys that step in when we do have a dip like this that will be willing to push it back up. So we had this sell off back here in the middle of August, and we got a nice run out of it. Now, big picture, though, we failed to make any higher high here. We've rolled back over. Maybe this is tariffs. Maybe this is carry trade. Again, it doesn't really matter. But now we got to make an assessment of what do we want to do here. Are we willing to step in and be buyers? Are we willing to be a buyer of options? I'm always willing to be a buyer of options because I know I'm using less risk. Do I want to buy with stock here? Probably not, right? This is really high in terms of the stock. Anybody that's holding stock may be a good spot for you to roll out of stock and get into some options, for something that, again, some of the high price stocks, let's say, for example, say a Microsoft. Now, again, maybe you were in and you're now kind of underwater because you bought in here. But if you've been holding on to something like this, rather than being a $500 stock, again, you can go jump into an option for a song and a dance, right? So let's just go over to trade an option. And even if you wanted to hold it for, let's say, a year, right? I want to hold Microsoft for a year. I can go all the way out. Let's see, January. Let's go all the way out. Let's see how far can we go. 2027. Let's see, June of 2027. Now we can go to September of 2026, one full year out. And we can look at an at the money option, right? You're $60. So rather than I can play an in the money option and play it for, let's say, $100. So you're talking about 20% of what kind of delta does that have? That has an 80 delta. So I can capture 80% of the move in Microsoft with owning a $100 option, 430, which is, again, pretty significantly in the money at this point, $70 in the money. But the most I can lose is $100, right? Whereas if we do have a bigger sell-off or a bigger pullback, right, you're going to lose significantly more when you're holding that $500 stock, right? Again, it's about having capital. Now, the reason I say this is because if you do have a bigger dip, you want to be able to have cash to be able to buy more. So, for example, if I got out of a $500 stock here and I freed up all that capital and I go buy one contract here, at any point I can go add to that. Say, all right, well, if it goes down $20, $30, well, I can go buy another contract or buy something further in the money for roughly $100, and I still only have $200 of risk. So it allows me to work my way in at better prices on the pullbacks, and I have capital to be able to do it. So again, that was one thing I wanted to mention as we are looking at a market that's not necessarily really bad right now, but just a way for people to buy the dips and to be able to take advantage of it depending on how much capital you have in your account. So looking at the market, I want to come back over to Market Chameleon because a couple things I've been looking at. And here's the screener. I went down through the screener earlier, kind of looking for opportunities in here. And most thing what you can see here is a lot of red, right? Obviously, that is pretty important to understand. But you are getting some names that are starting to populate in here, right? We can go to the next page, see if there's anything else that jumps out of it. All right, there we go. So maybe a little bit more green in here, starting to look like it's all right. Maybe there's some opportunities. Maybe some of the kind of flight to safety names, maybe names that don't necessarily move, in direct correlation with the market. Banks kind of down, right? Costco was looking okay, but nothing I really want to jump into right in here. Palantir, I think, is interesting. We can look at that on the chart over here. I thought that was very interesting, where it had not fallen as much. You know what? I'm going to do that over here on the chart. I apologize. So let's go over to chart and type in Palantir. And it has not fallen anywhere near as much, or I should say it's recovered very, very well. Now, if we can get Palantir to kind of get us some volume coming in here, maybe that's something that we could get very excited about. Maybe you want to set an alert on something like this where it starts to take out highs, start to make you feel a little bit better, that the market starts to rally. I think they could definitely come in and try to squeeze this one more time. May not get back up to the highs up in here, but I think we could definitely get a squeeze maybe on up to the high of this candle. That's about 171 on that, so that could be a nice move. The other thing I wanted to mention here as we're talking, I want to come over to NVIDIA and just kind of talk about this for a second. So just coming into NVIDIA, and again, you can do so many different things here in Market Chameleon, but the one thing I've been gravitating to, obviously the charts. I'm very big on the charts as a CMT. This is where I've made a lot of money understanding the price action, how this all works. But one of the things that I come back to, and as I've been digging deeper and deeper into Market Chameleon, is the seasonality. And since we just had earnings in NVIDIA, I found it. I wanted to look at the seasonality and see how we typically look in September for the seasonality of this. And you can see over the past several years, we've been somewhat blah, right? Maybe even more to the negative side in the past 4 years or so. Now, seasonality, you want to go back as far as you can, try to get a feel for, what's the current market environment, what's old, what's stale, right? Do I need to go back to 2015? Well, maybe you do. Or is that kind of a market that's, substantially changed? Well, one thing I would do is I'd come back over to the charts and look at where NVIDIA really started to take off. So if we go back to, let's say, a weekly chart and give us a little bit more data on this thing. And let me just re-center that. So we started to really, really get going on NVIDIA. And you can see probably down in here when 2023, where this thing really started to get going. So that was trading about, again, on a split adjusted up into here to, again, it went from $13 to what's that, 180 something, whatever it is, almost 190. So, again, is there relevance to, a 2015 to a 2016 when the stock wasn't moving as much? Well, split, it's not split adjusted. Yeah, these were decent times in terms of the movement, but because of the split, you can't really tell that it was moving that much on the chart. So I would say if you look back into 2020 and beyond, where we really started to pick up pace, you could see the slope. We had the reversal that came in, and then the absolute screamer of a move. So I think that's a little more relevant over the past couple of years, this chart I want to be on. And you can see since 2021, again, we had a really good move in 2021 where all that money came back to the market from 2020. All this additional liquidity came to the market. All the central banks were spending money like it was going out of style. Our own Fed put in something like $4 trillion, $5 trillion into the market. We had Japan, China, Europe all flooding the market, mainly because of what was going on in COVID. And okay, that was great, 2021, but 2022 was a bear market. Okay, again, we spent a lot of time back and forth in 2021. Good moves, monthly moves in NVIDIA, but again, this quarter seems to stand out to me that we were on a negative time frame here. So August, we had earnings at the end of the month, and you can see that we are been not necessarily negative in August, but going into September, right? Again, this one had a pretty negative follow through. This one was a positive month of August again, but the earnings were at the end of the month, and then this month was negative. So this is kind of the bleed over from earnings, right? Now last year wasn't that bad, right? You ended the month pretty good, but maybe we want to look at the actual chart of last year and look at August of last year. Now, I would say August of last year was a bit of an anomaly, right? Mainly because of you had earnings, that's July, here's August. And this was the bottoming out of the carry trade from what I just talked about, right? So this was August in here, basically, that's August 5th. And then we had a good run. And guess what happened after that? Well, again, the last week of the earnings cycle of NVIDIA, it was actually down. So we had the first week in September, it was pretty ugly. And then we started to stabilize. So I'm looking at NVIDIA as a potential opportunity. Do we have a little bit more follow through here this week, maybe into next, right? This could be one where if you start to see this take out significant lows like here or over here, this could be a follow through on the put side. Now, again, we're starting to see some of the names like a Marvell or even I think an AMD has made a good recovery. AVGO is actually back up on the day. A Taiwan Semi still down on the day, but again, you got some decent names that are in here that you may want to kind of watch. NVIDIA is the biggest of the players, right? It's the largest company in the world. So this one's going to be the bellwether. So if we don't get this rallying then, and we start to take out after we just looked at a little bit of that seasonality, maybe we do see a little bit more of a follow through here to the downside before we start to bottom out. Now, I'm fine with playing a put, right, and trying to play this to the downside until we see some type of a bottoming formation. So what would that bottoming formation be? It could be, again, just simple as a reversal candle on a daily that starts to show us a green candle. So on something like this, I'd probably look at taking out the low. Today's low is 167.23, kind of far away. We're about $3 away, but I'd want to see that the sellers were going to be in charge. So for something like this, I'd probably go over my entry bot for NVIDIA. All right, come on. Sorry about that. NVDA. There we go, NVIDIA. And what I would do is say less than, I think 167. I'm going to say 167 because I wanted to take out the low. And I'm going to say I'm going to add an option, which is going to be a put. Right, this should automatically add a put in there because it knows if I'm trading down below a level, I want to, as the stock market's falling, it's automatically start to look at a put for me. So buy one lot. Again, I'm going to look at a 170 put, right? Jump right into something like that. I'd use a price slicer to get me in a better price and then hit click create. Now, because it's OptionsRobot, what we do in here is we have this set up so you can build in templates. Again, I don't have a lot of templates for the downside of this, but I could say any option gains 30%. I'm just going to click that one for the sake of argument and go in and adjust it. Say I think we're going to get at least a 50% move if we start to move down. So I'm going to give myself a little bit more room here. So I'm going to say 50%, and then I'm going to roll down to the at the monies. I'll do it at midpoint, which is fine. And then my follow-up on that, this automatically is going to get me into the trade and roll me. And then if I go down, let's see, I want to change this one a little bit as well. So this is saying 30. I want to do another, let's do this one. I'm going to do on a quick, just get me out of the trade and click confirm. Okay, so all that's going to do is allow me to get out of my trades. Now, can I put stops into these? Yes, right? So I can go in and add in either or. If the stock value or if the option value has a loss since inception, let's say 25%, then I just want to get out of the trade, right? And I'm going to do that at a quick level as well. So that's basically getting me out on my rolled option there, right? And then if I say on my initial one, I can do the exact same thing. So, oops, I want to do an or here. Let me move back over. So I want to do an either or here. And I can say if the option value is the loss, then I say 25%. Then I'm going to exit the trade there. And I'll do that as a quick put in here with a stop loss and a gain. If it gains, it rolls out and down, and then I have a stop loss built into that. So if I make 30%, I win, and for some reason that stop loss says $25. I'm going to make an edit on that one, just so we're all on the same page. And you know what, they both did that. I'm not sure why that is. So let's go back over here. What did I do wrong? So in here, and we do I wanted this as a percent, click confirm. Okay, so I must have just done that. So you guys can see how to make those adjustments. That's pretty straightforward. The trade, if we start to run in the market, obviously I'm gonna get out of the trade. If the market starts to go up and scream, you're feeling pretty good. Now, some of you may be looking at the broader market and saying, you know what, I like the broader market. I like buying the dip. I want to be in the market in a way that I can take advantage of the upside. So again, maybe one of the bigger weighted names, it could be something like your Qs. You want to jump into the Q that you feel like they're going to step back in. I would not step in as aggressively as most. I like to see a little confirmation where we will continue to run and take out highs tomorrow. So for something like that, if I wanted to jump into a Q trade on the upside, or maybe even IWM's been outperforming the Qs this past month because of this big broadening out. So maybe it's something like the IWM. You feel like maybe they're going to start to come back in for the small caps, maybe a little bit more aggressively. Personally, I think the Qs are probably the better bet on the buy the dip move, because if they're going to move stuff up, they're going to move the tech back up a little more aggressively. So I would say on something like this, as an entry bot, taking out the high on the Qs, QQQ, and pull that up. And I want to go greater than, and let's see here, it didn't pop. There we go, QQQs greater than. Now the nice thing in here is we do have levels built in, but again, a lot of these may not be perfectly too close where you want them to be in terms of where you are trading. So today's high, let's see, it's not giving me all my information over here. So let's see if I can get that in here. Symbol info, and that's not giving me what I want on that. Let's go back over the chart real quick just to see what the high was. High was 559. Sorry, it's the low 560. Let's say 560, 568, but let's just say we get back above that level, 560, 570, right? We'll do that entry bot again real quick. So that should be set up there. We're going to say greater than, greater than 565, 70, right? Then we're going to look to jump into an option. Again, you may want to give yourself a little more time if you truly think this is going to be moving. So you may want to go out a little further in terms of the expiration versus just this Friday. You may want to go out to the 12th, something along those lines. buy an at the money option, right? Or at this point, I'm going to say I want to buy the five. We said I'm going to round this. I want to buy the slightly outs, 566s. And then I just want to do that at, let's see, default. I'll do that. I'll do that on a quick as well. So we'll do that quick, and then we'll click create. So again, from that, it's going to give me the ability to create on the call side, the ability to create a template to get out of this. Now I have a couple more in here. So on this one, I'll do let's see, is about $6. So I'm going to do this one, $2, $2, and this. So if we do start to pop tomorrow, I can get a really good full ATR and get out of that trade pretty quickly. Now, I may go back and add some levels in here that stop me out if it does trigger on the open on a gap up, but then pulls back on that. So again, you just want to make sure you are comfortable with the risk that you have. And I'll just show you this from a preview group thing. This is what would happen if we get in. We're going to be looking to roll our option if we move up $2. And if it does roll, we're going to look to roll the next one up by $2. And if it does another one by $2, I'm going to exit the trade. Right. So that's how this sets up with OptionsRobot. It's the only platform that can do that. Just a quick plug on OptionsRobot. The one thing we just had was a Labor Day sale. So anybody that's here and interested in market, I should say, as a Market Chameleon client, anybody that's interested in OptionsRobot, you can use the term Labor Day for a 50% off. I recommend going with the annual package because it's a one-time coupon that you can use it for 1 month, but it's not going to carry over. If you like the product after the 14-day trial, basically you use that coupon and it gets you in for the year at a much cheaper price. So any questions there, Will?
Nothing's popped up.
No, we got a quiet crowd today. So
we got a quiet crowd.
I mean, it's a tough market.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, it's a tough market. I'm sure people are trading here while try to kind of finish things up.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Well, listen. No, it was a great webinar. Thanks for bringing it to the Chameleon community, everyone. You can always email support at Market Chameleon with any questions, and I can put you in touch with Ryan. Ryan, do you have an email where if they have questions about using OptionsRobot or anything, if they leave the show and have something they want to get back to you on, is there a way to get back to you?
Sure. It's two ways. Support at OptionsRobot.com, or mine is just simply Ryan at OptionsRobot.com.
All right. Perfect. Well, Ryan, thanks for bringing another weekly webinar with your trade ideas and showing the Chameleon community how to use OptionsRobot. It is a great tool. I would recommend anyone who has interest to give that 14-day free trial a go. It is certainly really the best tool on the market to actually help manage the positions you have during a busy trading day when you may be at work or out of the office, whatever. It can manage it like nothing else in the marketplace that I've seen. So great job, Ryan, for bringing that to the Chameleon.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think married up with Market Chameleon, it gets you the analysis and the tools to help you find these ideas, and we're just trying to get them to put to use and help you manage them a little bit better.
Well, great. All right, we'll see you hopefully next Monday, 4:30. We're trying to do it weekly, so thanks for bringing it to us today. I know we had the holiday yesterday, and Ryan really went out of his way to bring this to everyone today. So thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll see you next week, Ryan. Thank you. Hey, for everyone joining for the first time, if you're not a Market Chameleon user, please give our service a 7-day free trial. That's available on the MarketChameleon.com website. We also have a daily show where you can see Dimitri using the Market Chameleon tools, ask questions, and that's live on YouTube. So check us out every trading day, 9 a.m. Remember to follow us on all the social platforms. If you're on YouTube right now, thumbs up, always appreciated. Everyone have a great end of the trading day. You got about a half hour left, and we will see you either tomorrow, any day during the trading week, or next Monday, 4:30 with Ryan. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.